So, let's talk about this. So, because your grandfather was treated very badly as a little boy, he saw the world, or at least the way to behave, in ways that were not okay and not acceptable. He was very quiet and shy, and your grandmother really liked that when they started dating. She literally told somebody, I don't think he could raise his voice above a whisper. Keep in mind, they only dated for 7 months before they got married. Well, not long after they got married, it turned out he could raise his voice above a whisper. He'd actually be quite mean, cruel, verbally abusive, and physically abusive. Grandmother told me one time when they were married, maybe 2 or 3 years, they got in some fight about something, and he threw something at her. It shattered, and a piece of it, the glass of whatever it was, cut her leg, like bad. Like, I don't know if it needed stitches, but bad enough that people would be like, "Oh, what happened to your leg?" "Oh, I cut it accidentally." Well, that was, So stuff like that would happen. She said one time she came home and he grabbed her and I don't know if he had a gun, he pointed at her, but just would do crazy shit. And your grandmother, like I said, being born, or being raised by these older people who had kind of already, gotten all their fighting. Not that any of this kind of fighting was okay, but she really had no idea how to deal with this kind of behavior. Well, what she should have done was left immediately and been like, go get help and we could see if we can make this thing work, but she didn't. She told me she did go to her grandmother at some point later after we were born, and she didn't tell her grandmother why. She just said she wanted to leave your grandfather. And your great grandmother said, no, you need to stay with your husband. Go home and fix these problems. Again, she didn't tell her what was going on. I think if she did, your great grandmother would have said, oh yeah, no, that's not going to work. But she didn't, and she went back. And so I can only tell you about what I can tell you things I've heard, but I'll tell you what I experienced. And the first thing I remember, I was maybe 5 or 6, so your uncle would have been 3, 4. We're all 2 years apart. I'm the oldest. 2 years later, brother, your uncle. 2 years after that, sister, your aunt. And then 12 years after I was born, your other aunt, who's much younger than us. That's another story. Anyway, so my brother and I were watching, we had a little old TV up in our bedroom upstairs, and we were watching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It was on, we lived out in the country, so we only got 3 channels. It was on one of them, and we were watching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. But it was at the end of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, there was some joke that I thought was really funny, and I wanted to tell my mom. It's 9 o'clock at night, and I guess my mom and dad, your grandparents, thought that we would be asleep. So I came downstairs, it's dark, I went into the living room, and for lack of a better word, it looked like they were rounding second or third base. They were fooling around and getting pretty hot and heavy. And I'm 5, 6 years old. I don't know what this is going on. I mean, nothing crazy. They were just making out, I guess, and doing what people do. So I walk in the room and scare them, and my dad starts screaming, "What are you doing up? What the?" And he's cussing and screaming, "Why are you up? Why are you up? Why are you up?" And I'm very, 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 very scared. He always made me very scared. You never know what that's like, and I will do everything in my power as your father to make sure you don't. It's not fun, and anyways, so I finally got out of my mouth that I wanted to tell you a joke. And he's like, "Effing joke, what the blah, blah, blah," and scream. And he tells me to come here. He's sitting on the couch. And he says, "Come here." And I walk over. I'm scared to death. And he picks me up and he throws me across the room into the wall. Fall. I get up. I'm in tears. I peed my pants. I did that a lot when he would yell and scream when I was really little. I peed my pants. And he'd start screaming and yelling and being crazy. And if he did it towards me, I'd pee my pants, and I'd go change, and I was always worried that he was going to notice and he'd be mad at me again. And anyways, so he throws me into the wall, and I fall and get up, pee my pants, start crying, and I'm just standing there wondering, what do I do now? And he says, "Go upstairs." So I did. I went upstairs. Remember, I got in bed. My brother and I, depending on what was, sometimes we'd push our beds together and make a big bed, and sometimes we would, they'd be separate, but I don't know what it was. But I got in bed, and my brother, your uncle, asked what was wrong. And I think I was very mean to him. It's like I wanted him to feel what I felt. I don't know. I'm sure that's probably it. And I think your grandmother came up later, consoled me to some degree. But I always wondered, did they have sex that night? Did that stop what was obviously happening when I got downstairs? Obviously, we'll never know, and it's probably a weird thing to wonder, but I don't know. We'll get into this later, but a lot of stuff went on. I was never sexually abused, let me just make that clear. But he would beat me. No, don't get me wrong, I did get spankings from both your grandmother and grandfather, and a lot of them I definitely deserved. One time, your grandmother I was like 6, and she caught me down at the barn with a friend down the road, lighting a cigarette in a barn, had a match with a cigarette in a barn filled with hay. So matches are bad, cigarettes are bad, and you're lighting matches in a barn that, filled with hay. So, I got spanked over that, which I should have. A lot. Yeah. So, the point is, it wasn't all crazy, but yeah. Another time, well, I'll tell you the big one. And this is where things I'm going to tell you more about this stuff, but I'm just really afraid of him when I was little. He was my dad, and I loved him and wanted to see him and hang out with him and spend time with him, but I didn't really get to know that part of him. I knew him angry. I knew him quiet and reserved. I knew him when his friends would be over, he'd be really funny and they'd all be joking. And I thought that was really cool, and I thought he was cool. And he knew how to work on everything. He knew how to work on cars. He knew how to work on the house. Yeah, he just like knew all these things, and I just thought it was so interesting. He knew about, we went to church every Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday school, and he knew a lot about the Bible, and that was really important to him. Yeah, so I say all this to say, I'm going to tell you the bad parts, but I do want to say, there was good parts, and he was my dad, and you'll see, I hope, with me, that, you want to know your dad, and yeah, have him love you. So, yeah, we'll get to